There's lots of sunshine here, right? You know, it's not 300 days. We lie about that. But there's a lot of sunshine. I'm sorry you're not getting more of it when you're here. You mentioned all the different people and organizations that are here. And we've got a great burlesque scene. We've got a great drag scene. You know, and you've mentioned a lot of those, but it's like, you know, the Control Group and the Catamounts and all of those great theater companies. We have one of the highest per capita escape rooms in the United States. And you know, this is a good place to work. It's a good place to build. You know, Terry and I have been doing what is now called Immersive for 42 years, and we've always lived here and built here. We didn't always get to work here. We've had to work in other markets, and there are a lot of markets that are bigger than Denver, but this is, you can get around Denver. You can get people that have a lot of mettle and passion to work on your projects. It's, you know, and people are getting bitchy about how expensive it is, but you know, I've also had to produce in New York and LA and Hong Kong, and I'll tell you something, this place is cheap. You know, so the people in the room are the reason to be in Denver. You know, Jessica Austin, you know, you know that she controls, she works with all the performers at Meow Wolf. She's in the cast of Theater of the Mind. She's the in-world writer for Camp Christmas. She's the writer for Cooking with AI. You know, she's in all of these different productions.
You better get some insurance on her.
We should take some insurance. We have legal weed. You know, those are some of the, you know, it's the right size market. Again, it's a great place to build. It's not, you know, we're not going to be able to like maintain long runs of, you know, a million years, you know, but, and when you think about innovation, like House of Eternal Return, how many people have been to Santa Fe, House of Eternal Return? Amazing piece, right? Great innovation comes out of a place of either induced or natural naivete. Right? Because we're not in LA where it's saturated with film and video and movies. We're not in New York that's saturated with art and theater. We're in this other place, and we have to be, if we're inventing new things, you have to be able to be naive enough to make new things. And so in a way, you know, the Denver market has only recently changed to 50% more people that have not been here for 25 years than natives. It used to be that it was a very high percentage of people that were here. So now we've got all these new people coming to town, and the market is getting bigger. And you know, like for me, it's like I had to be on the road most of my career, and now for the last few years, I've been able to come home and do Immersive right here. And you know, it's really exciting. So it's a great place to grow things.
Fabulous. Thanks, Lonnie. Experience would be exactly what we're going to do if this were a panel conversation, but it isn't. So we're going to bring some people down to join Lonnie in this conversation about Denver Immersive, and I would love to have 3 people who know a little bit about Denver creating to come on down. And if you don't come, I will call on you. So Brandon and Jessica, I'm looking at you, but just saying, yeah, like just there you go. Come on down, Brandon. Come on down. David, come on down. Yes, that was fun. Okay, good. This will be a good start. So I want to remind all of you that some of these people, of course, are fascinating, and yes, you would listen to them on podcasts continuously. That is not the fishbowl format. We want you to listen to them, and then we want you to come on down. So if you don't, then I'm just going to be looking at you, being like, hey, cute person with that shirt. Then that's how you're going to come down, okay? Because I don't know all your names. All right, so that's how it's going to work, all right? So we encourage you, as you are hearing these wonderful things, to come on down to be a part of it. Otherwise, they also get the right, once you kind of like, you know, good, you get to go off as well, okay? So here's my question for, I'm going to give you the why Denver question as well, because you picked Denver. So I think that'd be cool to hear, David. And then I want us to begin to talk about, for the 3 of y'all, of what do we need here in Denver to really be able to foster a phenomenal immersive scene, right? Because though we're great, it doesn't mean we have everything. So you get a moment to think on that. David, you get to talk a little bit about why Denver, of all the places that you could have done Theater of the Mind, why here?
Wow, okay. Partly it's what you talked about. There's a familiarity and an enthusiasm for immersive shows and experiences here in Denver. I wasn't aware of that. I would pass through on a music tour, and I didn't know that there was all these shows and experiences around. Many of them I now know were made by people I've now worked with, and so that's something. For me personally, for Theater of the Mind and maybe some other shows, I'm going to say I think it might be a little bit the financial model that DCPA has that made it possible for us to build this show. That the touring Broadway shows bring in money that pays for an in-house staff of incredible set designers, costume designers, prop people, tech people, it goes on and on and on. So in a way, those are all in-house. They don't become, for us, part of the budget that we have to go, okay, we're gonna have to hire all those people. If you're doing stuff in New York, you have to outsource and hire all those departments and all those people. Makes a show at least like twice as expensive. Forget about the rent. But yeah, it makes it really expensive. So I think it's not something I think about exclusively, but I think the money stuff is really key to how this can work. I have a question for other folks. It seems to me, and maybe somebody can tell me I'm wrong, is that one of the puzzles of immersive is that the audience size. The audience sizes tend to be modest. With Theater of the Mind, we try and get around it by running 16 people through every 15 minutes. So in the course of an evening, you can get the equivalent of maybe this theater through in an evening. And so it works. That works. But it's really kind of just for, say, producers, investors, whoever, is not super attractive because it makes money, but it's not like doing a regular play where they go, oh, look, you can get 1,000 people in at a pop, and yeah, I can do the math and see, yeah. So that's a puzzle. I think it comes with that's part of the nature of the beast, how to solve that. You don't want to just like have to jack up ticket prices and go, well, okay, we're going to charge everybody, $500 for a ticket. Now that'll solve that problem. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the immersive is beginning to discover that there's also other income streams that start coming into the work, which is kind of nice. For Camp Christmas, we do a fairly high percentage, it's probably 40 or 50% in addition to ticket and food and beverage and retail. And I believe that lodging is going to be a revenue stream for a lot of immersive in the future.
You're going to just
and education.
Be like a hotel, or people will just move right in?
Yeah. Yeah, couch surfing in the middle of a show.
I know in New York there's the Sleep No More show, which I believe
they do have
they're making money. They have a cabaret, they have a bar,
that's
a restaurant. Oh, they're making money from that.
Actually, I was a former performer with that show for a little bit, and I think what they really harnessed is creating a destination. So you're not just seeing a show, but you're getting an entire evening. You're getting the bar experience beforehand, you're getting the restaurant afterwards, you're getting a community to connect with, and it creates this reason to come back. It creates this binding power of like, this is my home, this is a space I can go to where I feel like I can put on this mask and run around and tear apart the set. And I think like it sort of gets around, as you were both speaking about, this capacity issue of we have this show and we really want to harness the intimacy of the show and the connection with the performers, but then how do we break outside of that mold and think about the whole day? And really listening to Star Wars yesterday, I was like, yeah, like this is a whole shape that we're
Well,
going to
and you better believe the Disney people did not bring their throughput numbers down for that experience. So it's $1,200 an hour or whatever it is, you know, on a normal ride. But also I think that, you know, unfortunately the bookkeeping guys aren't going to admit it, but don't you think that immersive also, if somebody has had a great experience, that impacts their life for a longer period of time?
Yeah.
Well, and to jump on that, what you just said, Lonnie, if somebody has a great experience that impacts their life, there's another side of the question that DB asked. You know, it's not about also how do we make money, but how do we make immersive accessible for people who don't know what it is or don't have the funds to. Sorry, at Meow Wolf we like to say Meow Wolf is for everyone, but tickets are still $50. So how do we truly get these experiences to folks who don't have that fund or don't think they want to spend it on theater until they're able to get in and go, oh, my life did get impacted by this. So there's two things. We got to make the money, but how do we still open the experience to folks who don't have the money? I don't have answers, those are questions.
Thank you, Jess. And for those of y'all who cannot see them, this is Brendan, this is Jess, that's Lonnie, that's David. There you are, just making sure you know them. This is great stuff. So thank you for asking these wonderful questions. I want to ask you all just a little bit about what else does Denver need? So greater access to people is kind of one of the answers I'm hearing from your question. How do we access people who don't know about this work? And then remember that you all are all welcome to come on down and tap somebody. So yeah, so what else does Denver need to be a really cool immersive hub?
I think it's close. I think what I've observed is that there's a lot of infrastructure about developing venues to become new bars or new pop-up experiences. There's a lot of really wonderful creators making really wonderful stories, and there's a lot of people with money who are looking to invest in the arts. And it's like getting all of those different circles to talk to each other. You, you. Let's put this beautiful thing in this big, beautiful space and have a wild time. That's what I think.
Great. And it looks like some other people want to jump in, so tag somebody and come on in. Yeah.
David, just so I can say that I tapped David Byrne's shoulder.
Your opportunity, you could have done that. So tell me your name.
I'm Ann Sabah, director of the Denver Fringe Festival.
Nice. Hello. And I would love to hear from you. What else do you think Denver needs to really continue to foster it being a great immersive hub?
Well, a Fringe Festival. How many here are familiar with the Fringe Festival model? Oh my God, I love you people. Everybody else that I talk to asks about, are you talking about the French Festival? What is the French Festival? So, as you probably know, the Fringe Festival is sort of spread worldwide, and we have a very innovative model that allows people to participate. It is uncensored, unjuried, open access, and it's a platform with a lot of potential for smaller, independent, immersive producers. I just spotted her. We have someone in the audience who brought an immersive show to the Denver Fringe Festival last summer. We are set up to support independent artists. We take a lot of the risk, financial risk, out of it. We provide venues and tech staff and volunteers and a ticketing platform and marketing and promotion of the festival. Our entire purpose for being is to promote access to the arts. So access to all forms of arts, but immersive as well. The model includes 70% of ticket
I'm gonna
sales.
pause you one
Yeah.
quick second, just because I want to make sure you're answering the question in
Yeah.
terms of how is this
How.
Fringe Festival going to help us to foster more immersive in
Yeah.
Denver?
Yeah,
Great.
it's open access, anybody can apply, and we also have a bring your own venue option that we're starting to build out, so that people with site-specific or immersive type of productions can arrange their own venue, and for a very small production fee to the Denver Fringe Festival, be part of the larger festival. And I'm gonna invite Leah Cardenas to talk about her experience really quickly, because she can answer that even better than I can.
I'll tap
Welcome,
your
Leah.
Hello, hi. My name is Leah, and hello. I am from Denver, but I don't have a company to my name or anything like that. So the Fringe Festival was an awesome way for me to be able to come in, and we had a show that was basically an immersive experience for an audience of one, which does not make money. That is not a very money-making type of show. So to be able to come in and play with that and still get the experience to have, I think we had about 8 to 10 actors, an audience of one. It was a 15-minute experience. To be able to give people that experience, people loved it. We were really, really well received, and it was such an incredible experience, but I wouldn't have been able to get that produced anywhere else. And so it was a really wonderful experience for me to come in and test things out in a safe environment where I'm not trying to, beg investors for more money and say, please, I promise we'll make it up at $10 a ticket for one person. So I
Thank you.
love the Fringe
And
Festival.
I see Ethan, I can't see all of y'all names, sorry, so I can't.
Carmen.
Carmen and Logan, so tell us a little bit about, either if you want to talk about the Denver immersive scene, or if you are also ready to talk about what allows immersive to foster in any city, state, or country, you are welcome to join us.
So my name is Ethan Bach. I'm the CEO and founder of Alt Ethos. We're an experiential design studio. And I'm bringing a little different perspective because we don't do theater. We do immersive, interactive, permanent, and temporary installations that deal with technology. We also build metaverses. And so there's a whole lot of stuff going on right now in the world, especially, that I think needs to be brought up. And when we talk about Denver and how do we get more people involved in Denver, we need to do marketing. We need to do things that are marketable. I love the idea of the festival, some sort of festival that gets people here, conferences get people here. But marketing, there's so many people looking right now for where's the next city to do the next thing. I'm in conversation with them. And some of these spaces are like jump off from the immersive, like Van Gogh experiences. And people are looking at that and saying, where do I put these venues? Where do I put these new tech venues where people can tour? And what kind of market am I looking for? So there's that, but just in general, like think about South by Southwest and how much attention that has gotten Austin. Denver is completely primed for that sort of attention, and it has so many resources, as we've been talking about, that are supportive, and the community is very supportive, and it's a great live-work environment, Colorado in general. And so I think something that's really marketable would be the thing, and something that's really out there and really puts our face out there.
I love that. Thank you, Ethan. And I want to make sure, as we're having all of y'all get to chat, that you did such a beautiful job of opening up that immersive is not just theater. We all know that, but I am biased. So thank you for continuing to expand this definition, right? Because immersive is many, many things. And I appreciate you talking about, if we really want Denver to be a hub, marketing is a key thing that we need more of. And I love what you said, something to market. So want to bring you into the conversation? Go ahead and chat.
I'm really excited to be here. My name is Logan Custer. I'm on the creative board of a company called Audacious Theater. We've been doing immersive theater in Denver for about 7 years now. We're pretty small scale, and it's been really overwhelming being here and seeing all of the incredible projects that everyone is working on. It's been really staggering and exciting. Something that I wanted to talk about, what Denver needs and what we can do. We talk a lot about in our company about cultivating an audience for immersive theater and immersive experiences generally, frankly.
Training the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
To know what the heck is going on, so they're not afraid to
Education,
even
yeah.
come out to your show.
This is my artistic director, Ren, over here. But yeah, and I wanted to thank everyone here, especially the Denver located people, but everybody for helping cultivate that audience and that community people who care about this, because you're all the ones you're doing that. And it's the reason that small companies like us can exist and we can thrive in this sort of community. So, yeah, that's something I want to talk about. And I think one of the big things that we do to do that, it came up in the keynote yesterday, building trust with an audience and creating a space that is safe and where they have the freedom to play and where they have the freedom to really build relationships with the space and performers and everyone who is there. And that's something that I, particularly in shorter experiences, I've been struggling with and trying to find some way to do it. That's my question. How do we, they talked yesterday about it, and the whole time they were saying, we have 46 hours to do this, and the whole time I was thinking, how do I do that in a 2-hour experience? How do I do that in an hour experience? How do I do that in a 30-minute experience? How do I build trust in that way, in that just incredibly truncated, short amount of time compared to what they were talking about? And that's so important for building that community, and so important for doing what we all do. And I
I'm
guess
gonna pause
that's
you
my big
because
question.
you asked your big question,
Yes.
and we've got 3 people here
Yes,
in the room as
absolutely.
well. So you're welcome to talk about that question. You're also welcome to talk about one of the earlier questions, and we'll continue to you.
Am I close enough? Oh, there we go. So I wanted to touch back on a couple of things I heard earlier. So I heard mention both accessibility and education.
Yeah.
And I think both of those are really important. One, I think there's a huge potential to use immersive experiences as an educational tool. And that's something we really need in our world right now because our schools are struggling, especially post-pandemic. Our students don't really, I should disclose I'm a teacher. I'm like there in the trenches. I teach art and I do a lot of experimental things and even my kids create immersive stuff. And I see it engages them, it gets them excited. So I want to see how we can bring children and adults, because adults need education too. It's not just young people. How we can bring these things together, and then also bring them out to the communities that really need it, because a lot of the communities that need the most support in education aren't the ones who can afford the tickets to Meow and things like that. So, and that leads to my question: can we make immersive mobile? Can we put it in like a bus and deliver it?
So I know Control Group Productions does awesome things in classes. Patrick's around here. He's awesome. But also Audacious does, we do trunk shows. We actually do have a children's show that is portable that we do with puppets and things like that. But that actually leads me to my sort of question. I think, I came to Denver from the Philadelphia theater market, and I came to Denver because I loved that it seemed like it was this little flower that was primed to bloom into something beautiful. And the big sort of gap I've seen between like the theater community in Philadelphia and the theater community in Denver, just maybe the art community in general, is there isn't like a middle ground. You have these really big theaters, and then you have really, really teeny theaters, and then this like space in between, I think, makes it really difficult for us to properly grab the audience that we need, train them properly, and I think there's also it's getting better, but it wasn't. Like we have the Colorado Theater Guild, but I think that we're still working on getting that community together so that we're all talking all the time. I think that's a big thing, right? Like I literally have a touring children's show and she has no idea about it. So how do I like communicate better about what we're doing as an immersive company, and how do I find other people? Like I want to work with other directors, I want to work with other writers, we want to help produce other things that are going on, but it's like, I just meet one person at a time, and how do we find more opportunities where we're all talking together and it's like a constant conversation, and so like it's this self-sustaining, self-building sort of machine.
Thank you. I also want to remind people, as you're bringing in these great questions, that by no means do we have to answer them all in the next 20 minutes. So that's part of what art is. You get to have these great conversations. So we have more people already here. I'm going to ask, as you all are coming in, to go ahead when you speak, just give us your name, give us your pronouns, give us a quick affiliation, and then dive right in with what your question is or the answer that you might have to one of the questions. So let's go.
My name is Nina. My pronouns are she, they. I work at Meow Wolf. And something that I was hearing when talking about the conversation about Denver and why here is people keep saying like Denver is a great place to work. And I wanna like address that and also ask a question about it, because it is true, Colorado has some of the most and best labor protections of any state. But I also want just have questions about the relationship between labor and the work that we're doing. I think that there's like this thing with artists especially where because we love what we're doing so much, we pour in just so much time and so much of our own just time and energy into creating stuff, and then it also like we end up sort of putting that expectation onto other people. This is a kind of scary thing to admit to a room full of people, but I was one of the primary organizers for the union at Denver, Meow Wolf. And I think part of the reason that it was so important for me to organize that union is because we all love what we're doing and care about what we're doing so much. And so it is so important that what we are doing is like, that we can also live and pay our rent and have groceries at the end of the day. And it's so hard because I'm often having to check myself because I have put in so much hours outside of work to create more stuff for what I'm doing. And because I love it and I don't regret it, but I also know that like there needs to be like, I don't know what I'm saying, but like I guess my question for everyone is, how do you make sure that the labor that you're asking humans to put in and the labor that you are doing is being appropriately like compensated, it like literally and metaphorically?
I love it. And Nina, that's a great question. I see you want to jump in, Spencer.
Fuck yes, Nina. Fuck yes. Please, God, let's talk. We talk from a bunch of different cities because there's so much that we need to pool for that. I've been working with a lot of things like lateral pay. I'm not going to go into that, but let's please. Kind of along those lines, I've been Spencer Williams. That was it.
What city do you represent?
I don't know if you could say I represent. I'm from LA. I don't. So I've been working. Leah. Amazing, Leah. I love this question about how to bring immersive out of this room and into people that don't think about theater or the arts at all. I submit getting together with small businesses, using the model of behavior that they have for their clients and building pieces off of that. We don't just have to find a theater because we don't need a proscenium, so let's get out of theaters, sorry. So I invite more conversations about that, and then it's the, I don't know how many of y'all have just gone and done workshops, which is what I did from the beginning, and it's palpable in kids. Palpable what they do. You go to a theater class and you start teaching them this, and you, I don't think that I ever taught Leah, but I went to, it was Wesleyan, right, to teach a workshop, and by the end of the series I was doing, kids that I taught were working in the pieces, and then giving it to them, and then just saying, go, and it's the same thing bringing it to communities. So.
I'm gonna pause you for a quick
My
second.
question is, how do we all do more of that? You're not Nina anymore.
And that's okay, these big questions again are everywhere, and we are officially opening it up, so we are now talking more beyond Denver. We're talking about how do you create sustainable, immersive cities? How do you foster it? We've had a great question of how do you build trust in your audiences? We've had a great question about how do you market it? We had an inherent question of, is what you're doing marketable? Just putting that out there. We had this beautiful idea about how much are we paying people, and are we being just in what we are expecting of our artists and artisans. So there are beautiful questions bubbling. We've got 3 more people here. Let's go.
I'm Caroline Sharkey, she, they pronouns. I am with Control Group Productions, we're the bus people. I just wanna, well, first, this is hard work. This is, I'm sure every single person in this room has had their soul crushed. So I wanna acknowledge that. And I think that especially with what we were talking about with pay and with artists, I think talking about trusting your audience, I think that the artists have to trust themselves and to trust the people that they're working with first. Because if there's not trust, if there's not respect, then, you know, nobody feels safe. So I think, related to my question, I think that it has to start with paying the artists that you're using first, you know, ahead of projection mapping, ahead of whatever that is, whatever tech element you're using. If you're not paying someone and you're focusing more on the product won't be worth it. The artist is first. So I think with that, when you're putting money for paying the artist first, how do you make your dollar last longer for, you know, your set? I'd love to hear any like weird anecdotal uses of, you know, I don't even have an idea, but how do you make a space, undersea aerial land while only having $200?
I'm Annie Lesser. I run my own theater company called ABC Interactive out of Los Angeles. My pronouns are she, they, or whatever. And I personally first just wanted to quickly back to Caroline, just because she just spoke, and so it's fresh in my brain. But you know, since my 3rd production, I put in a lot of effort to make sure that my actors are being paid above minimum wage. And then also, you know, sometimes I'll be in situations where producers suddenly change venues and they're like, hey, we're not changing your budget, but you suddenly have to, you don't have as many pre-made spaces and you suddenly have to fill a 4,000 square foot room. So like trying to make my buck where it goes, I was building a forest and I made a minimal amount of trees that were enough to line the walls, and then I took the negative spaces from the cardboard and I hung it in the ceiling so that the light came through, so it created the shadows of more forest to activate the space. And then we had smaller trees then throughout the space, but they each had their own lights lighting up, so then the shadow went upwards. And then we also had empty places for potential trees with planters, and we gave the audience members their own memories to plant in the planters. But so anyway, to like actually focus on the whole money issue, we are in a situation right now where, you know, I put my actors first, and I sometimes have producers tell me, well, we don't have enough money right now, and the choice is either to pay you or to pay the actors, and I have always opted to pay the actors, but I also am in situations a lot of the time where I am paying the actors out of my own pocket because we don't have ticket sales yet, and then once we get ticket sales, all that money goes to the actors, and then I am continually in a cycle of like, because I want to experiment and I want to try things that are new and different and that I haven't tried before, I want to, like, I get paying jobs and like, that's great, and then I can pay my bills for a little bit, but I want to constantly be trying, and I want opportunities to fail, and I think that we need more space and money so that artists can fail and not expect them to succeed when we give them money. And also, I think that a big thing too is us having the intentionality of maybe we do have high ticket prices because we need that money, but then having a lower ticket option for people that have not had the ability to access theater in the past, and also going into those communities and actually trying to directly advertise to those communities. So maybe like, if you're in Los Angeles, taking the local paper in Inglewood and putting your casting in that paper. I think that a big though question is like, what can we do to make it a safe space to fail for artists?
Nice, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I love all the questions. Oh, my name's Lyra. I represent Face Productions. Another of our leaders, captains, also at this conference. We met him, Trevor Sharon, our third trifecta, couldn't make it. We do mostly private events in San Francisco with high levels of audience interactivity. And trust is extremely important, obviously, in those situations, because if you have these higher pressure situations, often with a lot of intimacy and intimacy direction, you can only get that level of people leaning out over the void if they really trust that there's going to be a pit to catch them at the bottom. So I think that trust in all of these pieces that we've been talking about, paying people, paying yourself, not being worried about paying the bills if your show fails, all of that is trust. If you only have 30 minutes or an hour or 45 hours to create a trusting environment with your audience, we have to start before the show. And people trust that your show is a safe place if it's taking care of everyone that it touches. If the producer feels safe, if the cast feels safe, if in your messaging for the audience, you're getting really clear messaging about COVID safety, about trigger warnings. If like on your site, there's a little thing that says, message this email if you want to know what the triggers are in our show, and we will just auto reply with the things that might upset you. Right? Like, think about things in advance so that you can use time out of your show to build that trust, so that your audience is bought in when they arrive. And I would love to hear from other people what things people have done to create that atmosphere of trust, so that they can use the time that people aren't paying for to get started on that.
The floor is yours. You do not have to answer that question. It is just one of the questions. So tell us your name.
Hi, my name's Evan Freeman. I am an Arts and Culture Commissioner for the City of Boulder. I am also a magazine journalist that covers immersive events, reviews, and previews. So if you have a show, I'd love to cover it. So my question is more from the Arts and Culture Commissioner standpoint. We were having these conversations on, I love the bit about marketability and investors, but I'm wondering if we're potentially asking the wrong question or not asking the next question, which is not just rich people giving us money, but also government. Like, I work with government right now, and unfortunately, a lot of times, I reviewed 112 grants this year. Most of them were symphony orchestras and ballets. I saw almost no immersive art grants. So I can't fund, and like I'm speaking for myself, but I can't ever get the chance to fund, and I'd love to. I didn't get the chance to fund you if you don't apply. So I'm wondering, and I'm also thinking about exactly that conversation around failure. I also worked in big tech before I entered this world, and failure is the go word. That's the starting point, because they have those massive government contracts. I think Microsoft just got a huge one, and part of even the conversation that made me almost uncomfortable was that we all know that they're in the press release, so it's like, we don't expect it to work the first time, we just expect them to figure it out along the way. And imagine if artists got that same kind of leeway, but I wonder that we are asking rich people to give us that leeway when we should be asking the people we give our tax dollars to. So how can I as a commissioner, and how can I as a person who wants to support this role even more, help advocate for you within your city governments? I can help you write letters. Help me help you get tax dollars that you are already paying for.
Love it. Love it. All right, let's make sure everyone knows just that the conversation is getting so juicy. We have 16 minutes left. So go and go quickly.
Hard to follow, like, give me $1 billion. My name's Lee, he, him, and I'm in DC, which is really part of my question here. So I'm not a Denverite, and frankly, I'm not an immersive performance person. So I think I'm sort of a contrarian voice here in a way. And sort of 3 questions. So they're all interrelated. The first thing that I notice being in this room is, what the hell is immersive, right? I mean, that's a big question, and it's a big tent. And
We will not answer that
yeah,
question.
yeah.
15
minutes. The people in this room all identify with it, but once you go out of this room, I don't know that immersive means anything to anyone, right? Or at least not the way it does here. And the second part of that is like, coming from DC, I didn't think, oh my God, Denver is this mecca of immersive, but then I look at the thing and I'm like, oh wow, there's this here, there's this here, and this here, and like, maybe it really is. And maybe this is your moment to be like the Detroit of cars, the Silicon Valley of technology, if you want it. Like, do you want it? I mean, there's 50 Denver people in this room. You want it. And then my third question is like, okay, so you're here, we're here. So what the hell's next? And like, I would say, this is an amazing gathering of folks. Like, how do you not lose the energy? And so much of that is, the number of people that have been saying like, I had my one person, I talked to one person at a time, like, how do you capture that energy here? Like, I have a venue, I need this, this, and this, who can help me? And I think this is the group that could do it, so.
Great set of questions. Thank you, Lee.
I'm Marla Kasanoff. I came down here from CU Boulder. I'm a junior in creative technology and design in the School of Engineering, and I came down here looking for internships. So I was looking for any advice on like just pursuing this field in general.
Nice. And everybody go up and talk to her.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya Bravo. I'm the artistic director of Juggernaut Theater Company. We produce a show called Miami Motel Stories in Miami. So it's so exciting to be in Denver because I feel like Miami probably, I mean, I'm the only person in Miami that's producing immersive theater, so that sense of like we're throwing spaghetti on the wall and figuring out if it's happening, it's really exciting. But at the same time, one of the questions was about marketing. So if anybody's ever been to Miami, like you think of Miami, you think of just like party city, right? So we don't even use the word theater when we market. One of the things that we have to do is we kind of have to trick people into like, this is a happening, this is an event, and then kind of slap them in the face with some, you know, crazy immersive stuff, and then we quickly have fans. But my question, that's what we do, and it works, you know. A lot of people who've never heard what immersive is, or they associate it with theater, they're just not gonna come because of the word theater, unfortunately, and hopefully we can change that in the near future. I'm really excited about, you know, we keep talking about theater and technology. I just wrote a grant for the Knight Foundation because they were like, okay, you know, it's a call out for theater and technology, and I connected with the tech community in Miami, which I had never done before, metaverse, NFTs, all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, if I get the grant, how the hell do I do this? And I'm not connected to that community, and it just seems like, wow, in this room we have so many people that are in technology and in theater, but how do we actually do it? How do we start that conversation? Like, I know AR, I know VR, I know that there's AI, but like, how do we really, really make that connection? And I know that there's so much funding. The one person that I was talking to that does an NFT festival in Miami was like, if we can do this together, I can get you money from Ethereum. And I was like, what? So the funds are there, but I just feel like the training or creating that synapses together with theater and technology, like it's so, the line is so blurred that I would love to know how we can really make that happen. How can you know, Proscenium help that conversation start?
Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand up, actually.
Just use the mic. Use the mic.
Yes, I'm gonna stand up because I'm more comfortable standing. My background stands. My name is Nora Seymour Gans, and I use she, her pronouns. I am born and raised in Denver, a dancer, used to be Cleo's managing director, predate the education department here at the Denver Center, deputy at the SCFD, deputy at Bill Foundation. Anyway, I'm now at Creative Industries. I'm the government, and watched all that money go out the door to support so many. I know there's quite a few that we supported in the most dire time of need. That was close to over $100 million. We go back to our regular budget. But we have so much data out there proving not only that there's a need to support the arts and build resilient jobs, but there's also this amazing social and economic impact, and we're beginning to gather the data. So my question is, what are we gonna do about that? And how are we gonna stop competing with each other, traditional arts, immersive arts, whatever we call that right now? I come from a long history of, creative voices in Black and Brown communities, of which we actually don't even talk about, which to me is the original immersive arts. But what are we going to do about it as a community, collectively, taking that data, all that information that we know, that we can prove not only to the government, but also to the for-profit sector, and also, most importantly, to the impact investing sector. Impact investing has grown from $300 million to $1 trillion. It is a mainstream resource. But we have to identify and articulate our value across the board. Financial, human, and social capital is needed right now, but we have to have collective voices, and I'm gonna drop the mic right there.
Hi, I'm Danny Romeo. I am the UK boy, but originally from DC, so that's why I don't sound like it. Pronouns are he, him. I do a lot at the moment. I am an artistic associate with Collab Theater. I am the associate director at Phantom Peak. I'm also a lecturer in higher education for immersive theater, working at ICT Brighton. So kind of jumping off that last point, I would like to reframe the issue a little bit with a question of, yes, of course we need more support from government and from funders, but what can we do with what we currently have? How can we better utilize the resources that we have at the moment? Something that's working really well in London is we are operating incredibly well as a community. We spread the success. So there's a show, Immersive Great Gatsby, you might have heard of it. They did a great job of creating a space to be an entry point for new audience members into immersive theater. It's a little bit immersive, it gives you the experience, but it's also got the safety and comfort of theater in the round. So traditional West End audiences are coming to it and getting the experience of, oh, okay, this is immersive, this is something new, I'm willing to try more of this. The best thing that Immersive Everywhere, the company that made Gatsby, has done is at the end of the show, they say, hey, if you like this is immersive theater, maybe you should go check out a show at Collab, or check out a show at Parabolic. They've got X, Y, and Z on at the moment. Here's their information, check them out. And that has spread brand new audiences to mid-size and smaller size theater companies that would have died otherwise. We would have been dead in the water. It's really important that not only trickle down, but trickle up as well. If you have some people who are coming from an outside industry, like for instance, Collab gets the tabletop interactive gaming audience quite a bit. If you get a person who's never seen immersive theater before, they come to your show, they like it, you can say, yeah, there's a great show that's happening just down the road, Immersive Gatsby, you should check them out, here's their information. Other ways that you could potentially do that is, if you have a space and you've got a Monday off, but a theater company that's just getting started has a show, tell them, great, why don't you come use my space for free? I'll take the bar proceeds, you take the ticket proceeds, we'll split this 50-50. That kind of stuff is what's making the London immersive theater scene thrive, not so much the government money, because at the moment the...
right there.
Sure.
I'm David Zen drummer, and I produce an event with my partner Lauren called Rhythm Ceremony. For me, the most important question, and everybody has their own perspective, is how do we communicate the experience before they've had the experience in our marketing? I created a video. I don't really think that it necessarily creates it. Is it word of mouth? So I just wanted to pose that question, and we don't have time to really answer in this session, but if you see me or my partner Lauren, come tell me how you solve that problem.
Love it. Thank you, David. Jacob, go.
Yeah, hi, my name is Jake DeArmond. I work with a small company here in Denver called The Whip, and we are trying to figure out more ways to make theater accessible, because that's what we specialize in. One of the things we do is Shakespeare, and kind of piggybacking along the lines of what people have been talking about in terms of kind of creating value. I think we talk a lot about government money, but one of the things that we haven't talked about so much is, as this gentleman just said before, using what we already have. And what we already have all over the place are small businesses that are looking to identify themselves outside of the competition. When the brewery and Legal Weed thing took off here, we just started doing Shakespeare because we lost our venue. We were running out of Crossroads Theater, didn't have a venue anymore because they shut down. And so we decided to shop this 1-hour version of Shakespeare around the local bars and breweries, and it was a big hit, most money we ever made. And we do it all completely free. The thing is that you got breweries who are trying to do comedy and live music and open mics, and everybody and their mother's doing the same thing. But y'all got all this talent in the room. You got so much different kind of material and content that you could provide. You could do anything you wanted in a non-traditional theater space, create value not only for your company, but for that small business. Then you're taking care of your own marketing, their marketing for you, their marketing for themselves. Also, hey, maybe get some free food or some free drinks.
Awesome, I love
Absolutely.
everything. I just want to pause to get more people in. Go.
Hi, my name is James, and I work with the Exposure Project here in Denver. My pronouns are he, him, and kind of circling back on a lot of this conversation is talking about, yes, trying to find funding, yes, trying to find those interactions, but I think it's more about that interpersonal connection we can make and that scalability of trust. We talk always in these big, broad strokes of trust, of saying these big audiences, these big things and everything. And I can attest from Peter, I can attest meeting with Charlie, meeting with Mario over here, and local other people, me giving them the ability of showing them something one-on-one, showing them something interpersonal and scaling that has built more trust in the ability to have conversation, to utilize space, to utilize funding. And so I think a big question for all of us is when we're talking about building this trust, how do we scale it from not only these huge audiences of the city of Denver or whatever city you're in, but those individual audiences of those people who can and will make an impact with us. You know, it's just to me.
Pause
Okay,
right there.
fine.
Go.
Hi, I'm David Quakenbush, and I'm the founder of Bright Joy. Traditionally, we're more of a media production company in the promotional and training space, but we've been a hard pivot into technology-based immersive experiences. So I want to, let me start by saying that I really firmly believe that the only thing of value in the human universe is solving problems for other people. So there was a lot of questions about how do we find money, and I want to reframe that. And my question is, what problem does our work solve? Because that's where our value is. Are we solving for novelty? Are we solving for boredom? Are we solving for tribal identity? And I think that if your project is successful, you found a way to solve one of those problems, and that's where your messaging should be. If you're trying to find an audience.
Pause you right there. That's brilliant, but I gotta get others in. We only 2 minutes left. Go.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and she, her pronouns, and I'm here representing myself because I am a student, and I kind of wanted to represent the voices of maybe those of us who aren't in the rooms because we are the new ones who are up and coming, who are super interested and passionate about immersive experiences, but don't necessarily know how to get our start, and we're just waiting for somebody to invest in us and to take that risk on us to know that we're going to try to deliver as best as we can. So I guess my question would be then, like, what are we doing as a collective to make sure that we're investing in this next generation who's coming up, who are the ones who are currently experiencing all of these amazing things that you all have created and have fallen in love with it? How are we making sure we're providing accessibility for them as well as a resource for the future organizations to contribute their gifts and talents as well?
Oh, Sarah, what an amazing way for us to begin to wind this portion down. Can we give it up for everybody who got here today? This is the end of our journey. Part of the whole hope of this was to give you fuel and fodder to be able to talk to people you don't know for the rest of the weekend. You literally get to walk up to someone and say, which of those questions do you have any idea about? Right? And then you can begin a conversation. So thank you. I also want you to know that what you've done today will help us as we continue to think about what the day could be in the future. You've given us a lot of ideas in terms of helping to make Fishbowl even stronger. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for those of you in the room who gave us access points in terms of government funding. We appreciate you. emphasize that last point. Don't forget that there are people who are waiting for the opportunity to just get in the room with you, and they don't even know how to get in the room. So think about how to open the door. We didn't even get into accessibility. We didn't even get into diverse audiences. We didn't even get into all of the socioeconomics. More to come, but thank you so much. And now here's Noah!